Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 28th November 2016. The first article, it talks about Neta cum businessman. It is about the electoral corruption and growing nexus between the politics and business of the day. If you observe the composition of our legislatures from independence till date, in the early days, lawyers and farmers, these are the majority in the house. Today, most of the members, they are involved with one or the other business. And what is the type of the business these people are involved with? Where the government power is substantially involved to regulate the business, and where the government can provide for the favors and disfavors. So that's where these people are getting involved with, such as real estate, construction, liquor business, etc. And most of these occupations, the business occupations, they are thoroughly criminalized. So that is leading to criminalization of politics further. So electoral corruption is leading to further criminalization of the politics in India. And along with this, most of these people, these are forced into electoral corruption, because if one has to get a party ticket or one has to paternalize his particular constituency or to get a re-election, for everything, the finances became the central theme. So unless this electoral corruption comes down, we cannot have a corruption-free, black money-free India. And then going ahead, coming to this article, so it is again about the demonetization in India. So in this demonetization debate, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, he has clearly stated that it is a monumental mismanagement. It can decrease the growth by 2%. The government says it can gain up to 3 to 3.5 lakh crores of income, and the tax also is expected to raise. But if you see the fall in growth of 2%, the gains are substantially eroded. And the second thing is, yes, definitely the demonetization will help. By rising the tax base, it means the number of people paying the taxes, and it will decrease the tax rates. Obviously, as the tax rates come down, more the people will be willing to pay the taxes. So this particular situation is going to come, but the benefit will only occur in the long run. And second is, why the growth is expected to decrease? Already the exports, private sector investment, they are facing a huge difficulty in India. Only the growth is promoted or facilitated by public sector investments and the demand push, or else the consumption expenditure is increasing. The demand is very high in the economy, and this demand is going to come down, which will act as a negative motivator for the GDP growth. So that's what is explained by this article. And coming off the black mark, this is also on demonetization. What the author argues is, between the corruption and demonetization and cash economy, there is of little significance. Because the cash economy, GDP to cash size, in India it is around 11 to 12%. In Germany it is around 8%. If you go to Nigeria, it is around 3%. But the most corrupt nation is Nigeria. So you cannot correlate or bring a direct correlation between cash to GDP ratio and the existing corruption in the country. And the second thing is, demonetization in most of the countries has been taken up by the dictators. And when they took the demonetization in the name of cleaning the system, it has always led to certain untoward outcomes. People will lose the confidence on their own currency. This is what has happened in the case of Argentina. So, if the people lose their own currency, confidence on their own currency, the economic system is bound to collapse. And third thing is, the demonetization can deal with black money but not with black economy. Because black money is only one source of stocking the unaccounted money. The real estate, gold, benami properties, all these are the other things. The present move is going to talk only about the demonetization of black, or else curtail the black money, the stock of the black money, but it will not deal with the flow or rise of the black money. So author suggests the government could have gone better with Binami, tightening of the Binami properties, regulation of real estate transactions, gold transactions, etc. That could have been a better move compared to demonetization. Now let's come to who can become an Indian citizen. So this is about Citizenship Amendment Bill that is pending in the Parliament. As per the Citizenship Amendment Bill, any of the person belonging to a minority from the nations of Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan, they can come and settle in India. What does that mean? So they can get naturalized into India if they stay here for 6 years. For normally it is 11 years for the naturalization. Now it will be reduced to 6 years for any of the minorities who are the victims of persecution in these three countries. Now already who are the illegal immigrants and minorities, they will, if they are living for 6 years in this country, they will also be granted with the citizenship. That's what this act talks about. The minorities mean Hindus and then Buddhists, Jains, Parsis, etc. It do not include various sects of the Muslims who are also being persecuted. For example, in Pakistan, Ahmadiyas are persecuted, and these Ahmadiyas are not the part of this particular exemptions. In this case, Assam is facing a unique situation. There is a huge infiltration into the Assam from the Bangladesh. So, among the immigrants, we have Hindus, Muslims too. Now, the Muslims will not get the citizenship status, but yes, Hindus can get the citizenship status from Bangladesh. So, in such a situation, already the fragile situation in Assam is going to get worsened. The fears of rising illegal immigration in Assam is getting raised. In this case, IMDT Act, Illegal Migrant Determination by Tribunals Act, 1983, it came for discussion. Now, Supreme Court in 2005 declared it as unconstitutional. So, in Assam, the foreigners are being dealt through IMDT Act. Outside the Assam, they are being dealt with Foreigners Act. The difference between these two is this. If you are in Assam, now an illegal immigrant, if any person is being complained, let's take A is an illegal immigrant. Within the 3 square kilometers radius, a B is living who is an Indian citizen. If B complains to a tribunal that A is an illegal immigrant into the country, the liability of proving that A is an illegal immigrant, it lies on the B. It means the complainant has to prove that the person who is residing illegally is an immigrant from the other country. In the case of the Foreigners Act, the liability lies on the A. This is the major weakness of the IMDT Act. So that's why no deportations or very minimal deportations have happened under the IMDT Act in India. So during that IMDT Act, when it was being enacted, there were only 2 representatives from the Assam because all the Assam parties have boycotted the elections. And these 2 representatives are from Barak Valley, not from the Brahmaputra Valley, where this immigration is opposed. Similarly, the same situation appears to be getting repeated where the BJP is supporting this immigration. Now coming to the power of heroism, it is about Fidel Castro, who has lost and who was the hero for the Cubans. Now if you see the life of the Fidel Castro, so not just occupying the power from Batista, even after that, he has he has fought the capitalism in every nook and corner. And the second thing is, the 1962 Cuban crisis is very significant. You need to understand this 1962 Cuban crisis from 1959 Bay of Pigs event. In this Bay of Pigs event, the Cuban exiles, they tried to overthrow the Fidel's government with the support of CIA from USA. Now in 1962, the Cuban government has allowed for the Russia to deploy its missiles here. So America obviously is resented and it has led to the brink of the Third World War. And Even after so many assassination attempts, he was still is able to fight against them. And the next is the healthcare situation, education situation is much better than many of the developed countries in Cuba. And whenever necessary, Cuba always stood to the support of the world. Though the Cuban leader declared himself as a communist, he was very much active with regard to the non-alignment movement. He was the Secretary General from 1979 to 83 when the baton was passed to Indira Gandhi. So in these circumstances, the Fidel Castro is said to be the last revolutionary on this particular world. Now coming to the Indian Express, the editorial, the centralizing instinct. So in the previous days we have seen economic impact of the demonetization, then the impact of demonetization in vis-a-vis the rights of the people. Now we are seeing it from the perspective of the center-state relations. So with regard to the center-state financial relations, the central sponsored schemes are always an issue. What is the argument of the states? The center is giving some money and it is asking the states to give the matching grant to the same. And then who has to gain the political benefit or credibility out of this program? The center wants to impose its will on this program, and the states always ask for discretion. The states ask for the untied funds, the center always goes towards the tied funds. And the second is, the center wants it to be promoted as its own program, and the states wants to rename to its context, so that the political benefit actually goes to the states. Now this situation has changed once the Prime Minister Modi came to power. So now most of the programs, they are getting the tied funds and they are expected to be used only for the purpose it was intended for. And the next is, the programs have to be carried out in the name of the center. And the center, what it is doing is, it is transferring the money directly to the beneficiaries' accounts now. So in this context, the states feel that they are being undermined. And second, most of the programs are being named after Prime Minister. If you take Pradhana Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, Pradhana Mantri Swastha Suraksha Yojana. So it means most of the names are coming with the tag Pradhana Mantri. So to send a message that this is the scheme of a particular individual or a particular part of the government, and the states have little to offer in this. But the states say that the states are giving the matching grant, they shall be renamed as Pradhana Mantri and Mukhyamantri scheme or something. And the second thing is, if you see the demonetization drive, the new notes which are being really released, they have the Swachh Bharat icon. And the second thing is, Devanagari script is being brought in. The numericals are in Devanagari script. So because of all these things, the settled matters such as language are coming forefront again. So the Hindi in Devanagari script to be declared as a national language, it was the demand of the right wing. And it is again coming into the forefront, that's how it has been seen as. And then the center states relations are being getting revisited, and that's what is being described as the cooperative federalism. The center has declared that no policy will be successful without the involvement of the state. So in those circumstances, the 14th Finance Commission recommendations and their implementation and Niti Aayog constitution, all these are cited as examples for cooperative federalism. But if the demonetization drive is taken up, when such a big decision is being made, no consultations have happened. And second thing is, the states and their opinions with regard to the implementation were not taken. And the currency notes are more reflective of the thoughts and success of the central government, but not the cooperative effort of the center and the states. So this shows that there is a shift from the states towards the center with regard to the political identity is concerned. Now, most of the people they pursue till date, the programs belongs to the states, and their political credibility was given to the states. But slowly, the center is striking to take the political credibility away from the states to its own self. So this is becoming a disincentive for the states to effectively implement the programs of the center. That's what has been described. Cuba after Fidel. Now, Fidel Castro, once he passed away and then already the power transmission has occurred. And 2018, Raul Castro is also going out of power. He has declared already for the same. So in this context, the system which has been established, though the rights are being compromised for the people, there was an organized growth in the case of Cuba. A sense of nationalism, self-respect was given to the Cuban people by the Fidel Castro. So, as per capita incomes are still weak in Cuba, the market principles are slowly getting imbibed into this. The President Obama recently made a visit to Cuba, and that is the reflection of growing closeness between US and Cuba. So in this context, understand, already I have discussed the Fidel Castro a lot, so we don't need to go further on 1962, Cuban crisis, etc. over here. And then demonetization and its discontents. So the political opposition parties are very much divided on the demonetization, because that has been projected in a binary as good or bad. If you are supportive of demonetization, you are and fighting corruption in the country. If you are not supportive, and then it means you are supporting the black money. This divide has come up between the political parties. A narrative was projected in such a way that yes, either you support or reject. If you criticize, you will be called an anti-national. And then no political party is placed in such a way to be called itself as favoring the black money holders, and that finally has led to the division among the opposition. And then, lured by the angry campaigner. So this article, the essence of this is, there is a growth in right-wing politics across the world, especially the misgovernance and then lack of satisfaction among the people section of the society. These are cited as the reasons for the growth of right wing. If you talk about the Modi government in India, and then Theresa May in UK, and Trump in US, all these signify the misgovernance of the previous regimes, and they got the opportunity to prove. But however, how the world will be is a different question. And the voice of the third world. Now, Fidel Castro is not only remembered as a leader of the Cuba, but also the leader of the world, who stood for the people who are exploited, who are the victims of injustice, etc. If you talk about Angola, it was under the South Africa, and then he has supported the liberation cause of Angola. The same is the case with the Bolivia, Argentina, wherever in the Latin America, Africa and Asia, wherever the revolution was there, he has actively part of the same. And the second is, the healthcare infrastructure which was developed in Cuba has not only supported the Cubans, but it has always on the forefront whenever there is a global health rescue has come up. So that's why the Cuban leader has set his life as an example, and he stood for the cause of the weak, marginalized and downtrodden. And he was a strong critic of the capitalism and how unequal society has been created through capitalism. And he stood to his idea and thought from very beginning. And coming to expenditure by states on key sectors remains flat. You know that 14th Finance Commission has recommended for the 42% of transfer of net proceeds of the taxes to the states. It means that the expenditure of the states on health, education, etc. are expected to increase. But the PRS legislative research document says that the increase in expenditure on various developmental activities was only marginal by the states. And coming to India-Afghanistan relationship. So India is supporting for upgradation of the weapons in Afghanistan, and most of the Afghan weapons were supplied by the Russia. Now India is involved with the reshaping of these weapons with the Russian support. Now let's come to this. Neta cum businessman. It is related to the electoral corruption, the nexus between the business and the politics, and the growth of the businessmen in the in the legislative houses. Demonetization. It talks about demonetization kills the confidence of the people on the currency, and then there is no connection between the GDP to cash ratio and its connection with the corruption in the country. Now going ahead, the demonetization is expected to decrease the consumption, private consumption, and obviously it is going to decrease the growth of economy by 2%. And who can be an Indian citizen? It says that the Citizenship Amendment Bill, it is again trying to bring in the illegal immigration to Assam forefront. And in the editorials, the central-state relations are getting redefined in such a way that the center is gaining more power over the states with the existing system in place. It is going against the spirit of cooperative federalism in one or the other. Now, with regard to the perspective, the right-wing politics are growing across the countries. The failure of the governance by the previous regimes is cited as an example reason. The voice of the third world, it is about the Fidel Castro, and who has led to the revolution, supported the revolution wherever it is, either it is in Asia, Africa or Latin America. Now, IMD Act, I have tried to collect some material from the internet and I placed it over here. So this is about the today's newspaper. Thank you very much. All the best.